life in balance.
Yes.
We'll talk about life in balance beyond Koyaanisqatsi.
So one of my questions for Godfrey here is, this was filmed in 1982 and connecting the natural landscape to the technical landscape, that we don't use technology, we are of technology and exist within technology. So one of my questions would be, now it's almost 40 years later. Back then, the technology was the financial markets. The microchip was the analogy of a neighborhood and the chip. But today, the web is came in the 90s, and we have domains and sites. In landscape architecture, we study sites, but the web has sites and domains, and now AI as well. So 40 years later, how would you think of the technical landscape in the context of Koyaanisqatsi and our existence within it and our design?
Well, when I did Koyaanisqatsi, it was like doing it in the pre-Middle Ages of technology. Now everything is, we're on speed and rush hour outrunning our future. The technology that we have now is beyond our vocabulary to even understand, much less speak. So if I, what I'm trying to say is that the technology is beyond our capacity to understand now. DARPA produced the internet, produced reverse engineering on UFOs. That's the real thing. And it produced AI, and it's been going for now 60 years. So, and now a generation of AI could be less than a year, probably months now. So we're in a different world, a world where everything is on speed again, worth saying, in rush hour outrunning our future.
Godfrey, Koyaanisqatsi, the Hopi term for life out of balance, or other interpretations. There's also Hopi words for imbalance, or in other spiritual traditions, maybe grace, or in Chinese, wu wei, or in physics, we have the least action principle. How do you think about imbalance, and what does it mean to be in balance, that your film was calling out as a warning that we're out of balance in technology?
Well, we're talking to film students. You probably don't use film anymore, it's all digital, but the basis of film is a negative to produce a positive. A negative, without a negative, you have no positive. So my answer is, you are the answer. You are the balance that is offered. It is you. Obverse, reverse. The obverse is Koyaanisqatsi. The reverse is the balance that you offer to the subject. You are the verb. So I want to tell you, when Koyaanisqatsi came out, um, it was denigrated, looked upon as a hippie drug out film, something that you didn't need to pay attention to, so said many of the critics. Now it's a classic, and it's played all over the world. It's played with live orchestras. So take heed, those of you that are making film, because most films started or never finished, most films finished or never seen. So to be in film is a very courageous activity. Unless there's nothing else you can do, then you're ready to be a filmmaker.
So the students are making time lapse and slow motion videos, and then using AI to manipulate and to explore time. We saw some examples earlier today, which I shared with you, Godfrey. And some of the subject matter might be clouds forming and dissolving, plant growth and decay, tides rising and falling, human rituals and gatherings, uh, traffic or urban flows in harmony, day-night transitions.
Right.
So as we're filming these time-lapse scapes, they allow us to perceive balance as breath. When I first saw Koyaanisqatsi, and others have commented, just you capture the breath of a system, the inhale and the exhale. And any advice to students that are trying to find their own voice and their own narrative of revealing the breadth of their system, or any other way
Right.
you might want to comment on that?
Well, let me look at it this way. Through alchemy, the principles and tools of alchemy, there's a great book called Mutus Liber, produced in France many hundreds of years ago. And what it talks about is, of course, changing base metal into gold. But take that principle and apply it to the camera. There's time lapse and slow motion. There are optics. Optics are those things that um, affect how we see. There's the edit, there's the genius loci, there's the movement of the camera, there's micro photography, there's still or in motion, there's color, there's black and white, there's thermal, there's infrared, there's a foreground and a background. So what I'm trying to say is that you have within your capacity of the tools that you may use, if they don't use you, um, the opportunity to, as it were, paint in cinema. These are the tools instead of paint, the optics, the edit, the genius loci, the movement, etc. So this is what I would say to that.
You mentioned fearful symmetry, which came from Blake, and then others. Ian Stewart talks about it, and it's also a foundational principle in physics.
Right.
What do you mean by fearful symmetry?
Well, it's actually Einstein that said that. It was his conundrum throughout his life, how everything seemed so independent, so unknowable, and yet it was all as it was supposed to be. He also said the fish will be the last to know water. Now, what does that mean? We'll be the last to know the places that we exist in because we're not aware of them. And of course, the fish lives in water. We are born in the womb of our mother in water. We have gills, but and we come from the sea, but we don't we don't know how to deal with it. It's an enigma for us. So with Einstein, let me say, fearful symmetry is something we should all be aware of. What I talked about just a while ago, all these things of sculpting in time, it's called sympathetic magic. You look it up. It's clarity by way of distortion. Let me repeat that. To be clear, you distort something. So all the things that I mentioned, from still emotion, the color, the negative, etc., these are a way of having something distorted bring clarity to what you're doing. So if you want to see time lapse, um, if you want to see something that's real, but your eye or your senses can't conceive of it, then you could use time lapse, you could speed it up, or you could slow it down. It allows you the freedom to do that. I want to also say that we are freest when we know that which enslaves us. So the great myth of the day, if not the world, is that technology is neutral. It's the use or misuse you make of it. Technology has inherent politics built into it. And we have the aesthetic triplets of sensation, emotion, and perception. Those are the things that art is aimed at, but those have become vestigial for most of us. So we should be careful about what we hope for.
And Craig, maybe you could take some questions from the audience, and then if it's maybe repeat the question if it's soft.
I have a microphone that I can carry. So while you guys are thinking of a question, I'm going to ask a quick question. Godfrey, just building on Stephen's question about symmetry and your response where you spoke about the unknown, I think one of the things that I found immediately compelling in your film when I first viewed it was the way that you visualized or made visible the complexity of the city, of the landscape around us. I wondered if you could maybe just share with us your thoughts on that notion in the film.
Well, let's put it this way. In giving up language, because I feel our language no longer describes the world we live in, and we see the world through language. The limit of my language is the limit of my world, says Wittgenstein. I wanted to pursue a form that avoided language, not for lack of love of the word, but if the word no longer describes the world we live in, then we have to have a reboost. And a reboost is not by word, but by object, by deed, by act, do we redefine the world. So our first lingua franca is body language, facial expression, eye behavior, gesture. These speak louder than the words that we speak. If you see someone and they say, "Oh, you're very nice," and it means nothing. It has to have the authenticity of a response that's real.
Yes.
So I'm curious how you see contemporary filmmakers in adapting using some of the making techniques to Koyaanisqatsi, well, see that changing.
So we're not picking that up here. You'll have to translate it.
It might be my now it's like should I think very question. Would love that.
Yeah, sure.
We're coming. Sorry, we're coming down to the microphone.
That would be better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Here's that close.
I'm curious how you see contemporary artists, filmmakers carrying the torch from the beginning stages of Koyaanisqatsi and then to Koyaanisqatsi and Noyaanisqatsi, and how you see filmmaking, new methods of filmmaking being adapted to our new contemporary landscape and how technology has evolved.
Help me out. What is
So comment on new filmmakers that have been inspired by the triplet, and what are the new technologies that they're bringing to the foreground, and you can comment on the new technologies and even your new AI film and things like that.
okay?
Yeah.
Well, as I said maybe earlier, the technology that Koyaanisqatsi used was like in before the Middle Ages. It was ancient. Now our tools are so powerful that a generation of our tools could be in months rather than in years. Andy Grove said, the person that developed the microchip, if it can be done, it will be done. It was a warning he gave after 9/11 in New York. And technology has a voracious appetite. It preys on the appetites of others. You can't pick up a newspaper today without AI being involved in it. It's everywhere, and it's so visible, it's now unknown, unseen because of its predominance in the medium. You don't know if you're looking at something real or if you're looking at something fabricated. So we're living in a synthetic world where AI can actually erase the creation that we're part of. We become extramental to AI. We become a bother, and we might all end up on a funny farm somewhere, because AI listen to what I'm going to say, is a new life form. It's a new it's a new entity that portends the divine now. It's remaking the world in its own image and likeness. So we live in a time that our language cannot describe really. Um, and so that's why I use music because it goes directly to the soul of the listener. It bypasses metaphor. So it has much clearer presence than any word you might use.
I think we have one more question, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Hi, I'm not a film student. I'm a design student at the architecture school down 2 blocks. So I am interested in your use of time and energy. Um, so your film uses a lot of accelerated images to show the world running on high energy. Does that acceleration, in your view, represent a political force? I'm not sure if you've ever read Paul Virilio's book, Politics of the Very Worst, but he introduces dramology, this term where the very speed of life guarantees its own catastrophe and accident. So the
Wow.
innovation of technology and media itself, it's like
Right.
an ongoing cycle of self-destruction or
Certainly. Well, I'll tell you something that has been known forever. The stiller you are, the quiet you are, the quieter you are, the more you're sensitive to the world around you. We live in a world where the cacophony of noise and distraction and promises that don't mean anything, drugs, sex, all of that is a distraction from the quietness that will allow us to perceive our own world. Like if you're going to make a film, it has to be your film, not someone else's. So how do you find that space within yourself? By retiring and doing what I call, and I talked about it earlier, contemplation. You let the location speak to you. It has much to tell you if you can only hear it. When you're editing a film, if you're a good editor, you let the footage or the image speak to you. It allows you to perform the best if you listen to what it has to tell you. So open your ears. We see the world through sound. You'll be amazed that I say that perhaps, but sound gives us the clarity of vision beyond what our eye might see. What the ear hears is what we really see. Am I answering your question?
That was definitely a yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi Godfrey, can you hear me?
Hi.
Um, okay, so my name is Dylan Eskendon. I'm a landscape architecture student, also down the street. And I'm wondering, so I've been doing some work on railroads recently and like learning how essentially the railroads have changed our perception of time and actually like the entire world's time because now we live on a standard time that's based off of railroads. And I'm
Right,
wondering if you can speak more on, you had said earlier that there's sensation, emotion, and perception. And I'm
right.
wondering if you could speak on how those apply to time.
Well, let's use your thing of the train. The very word landscape comes from being on a train where you're traveling through and you observe, of course, the landscape. Every landscape, however, has an inscape, and that's where the aesthetic triplets come in. But for most of us, 9 out of 8, those have become vestigial. Sensation is what you can see if you keep your senses open. Emotion is what happens after the sensation. It's what you may feel, and perception is the absolute object of art, which is to re-see. and to rehear the world you're in. So it's up for you. You are the verb. It's you that has to take that move. Um, and it's better to do that if you're a filmmaker in collaboration. Film is a collaborative medium of its nature. There are a few exceptions, but for most of us, it's a collaborative form. So in that sense, it's good to have a giant ego if you're a filmmaker, but no vanity of ego, which means that you can't take criticism. So I work with Philip Glass now for 40 something years. I talk to him about everything. He has an ego that's bigger than the Empire State Building. Mine's a little bit smaller, but right up there with him. But we can tell each other what we don't like directly. So I don't tell him what he wants to hear. I tell him what I feel. And sometime, in every case, I've had to reject certain music and he gets it and he uses it for something else. So build up the power of your ego. Probably all of you have a big ego, but don't be vain about it because then you can't be a collaborative person. You're a one person, you're a train with one car.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions, or should we let Godfrey go?
I want to say
Please.
that my role as a director, but because I've heard what some of the students are, I'm really a graphic designer. That's what I do. Like I never touch the machines that I work with because I'm an addicted personality. I remember back in the 90s in Berlin, they showed me the early form of the internet, and I said, gee, and they were showing me how efficient it is. Technology is all based about efficiency, the god of technology. And it was something I didn't want to do at all. So I decided that I would design and let other people more talented than I realize what it is that I have designed. Now, having said that, I'm everything, therefore, from a mother to an assassin, because I have to get my own way, no matter what the cost, without killing anyone. On the other hand, when you go into the movie, as Jodorowsky says, you go in one person and the movie kills you and you come out another person. So film should kill you in terms of your old perceptions so that you can be free to think about something brand new, something you can bring to the world. And all of us are totally unique. While we're all are mass men and human animals, we have as many hair follicles on our body as the gorilla or the chimpanzee, but we live in modernity, so we don't have to show that. We have to be true to who we are. We're an animal, so human and animal. Let me also say before I leave that Aldous Huxley's Brave New World would be well worth reading because in the 1960s, when he wrote that, early 60s, he pinpointed exactly what's happening now in a very erudite and clear way. So I recommended to leave two books. As a filmmaker, I'm recommending books, not movies. Sculpting in Time from Tarkovsky and Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. So thank you. I appreciate being there.
This has been a real joy and a real honor to have you join us here today. I'd like to thank you very much for your time and for your incredible thoughts and for your amazing film that
Thank
we're
you.
about to watch. We will look forward to being killed and leaving this place anew.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.